Okay, so this is just a video on the layout of my pedal board. I'm just about actually to modify it a little bit, rip it up because my volume pedal stopped working. There's been a problem the past couple of gigs. First I actually thought it was maybe a cabling problem, but I checked everything and then it happened again and it was the volume pedal. Right, okay, so this is what I've been using live. It kind of looks fairly large, but it's pretty crammed in as well. Got a good amount of stuff happening. So the first thing we come in is this interface box here. It's just one that I bought it from the gig rig. So it's just 5 jacks, 5 in, 5 out. So the first one there, if I plug in here, yeah, that's my input. Second one's my output. Then I've got a send and return. You see I've got a spare one in the middle there. I actually had it set up with a radio AB. It's the Big Shot. And that actually gave me 2 outputs. So I could plug it into 2 amps. But I wasn't using that. So I actually just took it out for the sake of just having a kind of clearer signal path. But as in my case, if I ever want to use 2 amps, really cool box. Okay, I think they're also TRS as well, which will help if I use this new amp I've got. Okay, because the foot switch will need a TRS. Anyway, so we come in here. Okay, so that's our output, and the first pedal the guitar sees, or the signal sees, is this full tone wah wah, and it's got a buffer here. So the buffer means the pedal after it is we actually run into the fuzz face. This is an analog sun face with the RCA transistor, and it's got the bias control as well. It's got amazing cleanup. It's very warm for a fuzz face. It's just fantastic. Apparently, I don't see too much hot temperature being in Scotland or any kind of desert type temperatures, but even though it's a germanium transistor, apparently they're quite weather temperature tolerant as well. It's got an LED, and I can power it from a power supply or an external battery. It's absolutely fantastic. I've actually bought another one with silicone transistors, and I'm just going to sell it because it just doesn't sound... It's a great sounding pedal, but yeah, germanium fuzz face. So this has got the buffer in it, so that means I can go wah into fuzz. Now after the fuzz, we go into this long amp Roxanne flanger. I actually bought this used from a guy in Australia. It's written on the inside of the case from the guy who built it. What kind of inscription to the guy? It's I think it's just a copy of the Memory Man. You see the kind of graphics. I think it's a Police album, Ghost in the Machine. So for a long time I would use chorus, but the chorus, the last chorus I was using was a Maxon chorus, and I would turn the speed way down, so it would do a very subtle kind of like flanging effect. You could adjust the delay time as well. So eventually I realised it wasn't flanging. It wasn't chorus that was needing, it was flanging. It was that kind of modulation. Then we got that was one. Then we got into the Vibe Machine, which is a Univibe creation. It's actually got a fair bit of technology and switch and stuff, but essentially it's supposed to be like a Univibe, and it's really thick. When you turn the intensity up, the throb out the speakers is boom. It's absolutely huge. Of course, you can back it off, and that'll give a really subtle chorus in, or just turn it into the kind of vibrato mode. Brilliant pedal. I've actually got 2 of them, and the second one sounds even sweeter. It's got some controls at the side, so you can dial in the symmetry and stuff, and that really helped. But the other one, for some reason, just sounds even better. So possibly it'll get swapped out. That's connected to this switch here. So that's why I'm not doing a demonstration of the board, because it's actually not totally working just now. However, I should do some, because I do well, I've tried to keep this board the same for a while, but I do go through a lot of gear and stuff, so it'd be good to I should actually document it. The Vibe is connected to this foot switch. You can program it to do quite a few different things. I've got it just to go to a kind of quicker speed. So in the bands, say when we've been playing Black Hole Sun, sometimes they need a kind of more watery effect, and you can adjust the speeds like a lot of pedals. It kind of ramps between the slow and the fast, so you can just be pressing that the whole time. It's all ramping up and slowing down. It's really cool effect. that will a semi-distorted sound, or the fuzz. So you've got the fuzz, then those modulation pedals. So if you're using the fuzz, then these are quite pronounced, okay? So after these, then they go into the overdrive pedals and the boost pedals. So from the vibe, then we're going off into the Dumble-Light, okay, which is, it's hard to describe, really. Also, it's supposed to be Shin's music take on a kind of the Dumble tone. It's like a really fat tube screamer in a way. You've got to run it. I run it with the drive all the way down, accent all the way down, a bit of tone and a bit of volume. You bring the accent up and it makes it sound kind of quite rough in a way. I think some people complain about that if they're playing at home. But if you're playing really loud and you start edging that up, wow, it just really adds something. But again, it's like with the Strat that I use, it just fattens it out, gives me more gain. Jazz setting's cool as well. Rock just gives you a bit more. It's a bit less subdued. And that I use boosting into other things. So this comes after the fuzz. So if I've got the fuzz on, depending on the amp, I can use this. It'll smooth it out. It'll give the fuzz a bit more mid-range. Generally it's a kind of cleanish boost, but the amps are quite loud, so yeah, you still get a fair bit of distortion. After that, this was one of the last things to come on the board, is Sir Coco Boost. It's a buffer, so at this point, after the guitar's seen a few pedals, it's getting buffered at this point here. It used to be the first thing I would run into would be a tuner, which is a TU2. I've got a couple of spares, but I use this one here because of the buffer again, and it's just not broken either in all the years that I've owned it. So the Sir Coco Boost, you've got a big mid-range boost and you've got a clean boost as well, which more often than not I just leave the clean boost on, and it's a buffer. It's absolutely bulletproof and it is super quiet. All these pedals are pretty quiet. The long amp isn't quiet, but that's just the nature kind of the circuit. Analog Man's very quiet for a fuzz, it's amazing. And then the Coco Boost is super quiet as well. Okay, then after the Coco Boost we go into the Shanks Vemuran. So this is kind of taking the nobles, very powerful. You can see where I've got the volume set, that is boosting the signal quite a bit. If you put it up there with gain, it's absolutely crazy. Tone control, bit of mid-range there it gives you more treble and bass. It's got tons of headroom. One of the things I'm going to do, however, because the volume pedal broke, it was actually sapping a lot of the sound away. So once I removed it and checked it, then this was so much clearer. So what I'm going to do is swap it around. I would use the Dumble-Light sometimes to boost that and then into the amp. So what I'm going to do is have the that, then the Dumble-Light, and that's going to work a wee bit better, I think. Then it went into the volume pedal, kind of standard Boss, the low impedance one. And then it goes into the tuner at the very end there. Then that will go all the way back into here. So we've came from the interface, wah-wah, fuzz face, sun face, and then into the flanger, dry bell, and then my Univibe, and then we're into the Dumble-Light. Dumble-Light boost the Coco Boost, and the Coco Boost is boosting the Shanks. Okay, yeah, the Shanks like the ODR, the green kind of Nobles pedal, but much better. I always said I would never buy a Vemuran pedal, they were so expensive, I'll just get the other ones, but after trying it, it's just something about it, it's fantastic. So yeah, I said I would never get one, and yeah, there you go, got two. I did get a good deal on it, however, from a very nice guy in Newcastle, I think it was. Right, okay, then we've got Boss volume pedal. This has got all the vertex mods in it. I'm doing the inverted comma thing there, if you can see my fingers. So what that basically was, it used to have, yeah, it was like a jack at the side and it's got a tuner output. So basically you go inside and you cut all that off and it just leaves you with a kind of purer signal. He did have some marketing bump at the time and sold it as a Scott Henderson signature pedal, saying it had more detail highs and a complex mid-range, but effectively you go inside and you cut off the volume pedal. You can see I've added a little bit of cardboard there, but after a good while it stopped working, so we're going to get short of that. It was, get a bit of focus. It was good because you can have all your gain pedals on and have that at the end, so you can do like swells and stuff with any tone. But I just found myself just not using it live, and my rig isn't that noisy that I need to shut things off. Maybe when I do some of the Cayley stuff with the acoustic guitar, I'll get a volume pedal for then. I'll need to build another board for that as well. That might be kind of handy. But I'm going to put in the word session box I spoke about, and that'll go in the effects loop. And what that'll actually do is give me 2 set volumes. I did try that there, but going back to a rhythm volume and you're just sneaking back a little bit, it just never really worked that well. I would use it occasionally for swells, but if I'm swelling, I use the guitar volume so much that I just tend to do it with that and could just compensate my tone anyway. So after that, we've got the buffer there before, then we're going into that generalist distortion pedal on anyway. And I'm kind of using the volume pedal, like I said, the volume control in the guitar. Then we're into the Boss TU2, which is sitting on the side there. Yeah, I've got a polytune there. It doesn't have the buffer in it. It's a nice little tuner though. And I've got a TU3 as well, just as a spare. But yeah, it's still not broken. And yeah, then it goes back to your output, and that's us. So yeah, everything's pretty quiet and buffered quite well. The other 2 pedals here are for the effects loop and the amp. So if you don't know when, there's one of my amps there. There's 2 bits to your amplifier, the preamp and the power amp. So there's a couple of sockets in the back, and I can connect in after the distortion's created in the amp. So that's kind of when I really like my delay, is after the distortion, because it keeps it nice and clear. So this I got, maybe 3 years ago now. You couldn't actually get them in the UK at the time. They stopped making them, but you can get them now. I think they just ran out of some parts or something. It was quite new, then they stopped it. But it's a free the tone Future Factory delay. It's basically 2 delays in one. It looks quite complicated, but all those functions in the top there, it means you don't have to go through scrolling through any menus. And then you've got 4 presets here, and it also do a tap tempo. If I wanted to connect a MIDI foot controller, you could store like, is it 120 something presets? But in reality, when I'm playing live with the band, preset 1, I've got a kind of general delay. It's softened off a little bit in the EQ. You can add a bit of distortion. And I keep it kind of pretty dark. Number 2 is like a quarter note triplet delay. So it's your kind of U2 and Daniel Lanois. And then number 3 is the quarter note and the dotted eighth note, and then the quarter note and the dotted eighth note in preset number 4, but with a good bit more feedback and repeats. So number 3 dies out a bit quicker. Number 4 is goes on a bit longer, and that is all attached to this expression pedal. So whatever I'm on really there, you can tap it as well so it goes in time with the song. I can just blend it in with that. So sometimes if I'm like, I'll sing with the band as well, you're too busy, so it's good just to have that there, and then you can adjust it on the fly. And then the second thing in the loop is Ventress. It's not picking it up very well. Dual reverb. So you've got 2 reverbs, A and B, 2 kind of discrete DSP, 2 discrete kind of chips and kind of units in there. You can set it up again with MIDI and tons of presets. This one you can actually expand to 8 presets, but it's crazy, it's too much. I use 4, and then because it's A and B, if I press this button it flips between A and B, so I can set like a spring reverb, or a really nice plate reverb, and then and then swap over to something crazy and bigger. So in the first preset I've got like a spring reverb and a hall reverb, and again it's on the expression pedal there. Takes up a bit more space, but they're pretty light, and it's dead handy. Everything's powered by, this is a Friedman power supply, I think they call it a power grid, maybe, I can't remember, but it's only one that you do. It's got 10 outs. Unfortunately I've got the newer pedal train board, so I can't mount it underneath, because for some reason they've made it with the most shallow feet ever. I did buy the kit so I can drill the feet out, but I've not bothered. Anyway, like everything in top end, it's quite cool. Then I can see it and I can get to it quite easily if there's like an issue and I'm gigging. But yeah, so this will be the last this board is seen like this. So let's actually see if I can take that off. And goodbye. Now we've got to rearrange everything. I think I'll pretty much keep the same, but yeah, I'll swap the order of the Dumbleoid and ODS. And yeah, I had thought about getting rid of the Sunface and putting on this Hello Sailor fuzz face I've got, because I love the huge box pedals. I had the Clon replica, the Soraya tone one. While I've got smaller Clon type pedals, I wanted the bigger kind of thing. So this is so cool, and it sounds incredible as well. It's germanium. The cleanup is amazing. However, it's just traditional, so I would need to maybe drill a hole through the side and put the battery snap on it. And I thought, do you know what? I've already got that, which is a smaller size. It sounds incredible, like inspired. It's really, really inspiring. You can play a whole concert just with that and a good amp. Yeah, and all that shoots out, goes into my trusty Laney amp. It's a GH100L, but this new, years ago now, and it's been fantastic. Super loud, great effects loop, and you can dial in whatever gain you need from the front of the amp there. So if yeah, you can compensate for any pedal. I can get quite a nice kind of clean sound, or I can get like crunch it up a little bit and it'll work better. But even pedals that are kind of like nasty fuzzies and stuff. And again, it's super powerful, so it works in any scenario. And that'll run into, well, there's one of my speaker cabinets there. That's a 1x12, and I've been using 150 watt Redback speakers, so dead powerful. And the black cover covers possibly my new amplifier, but I'll need to swap over. So that's the pedal board. Like I said, it's been ripped up already, and we're going to move it around a little bit, get it a bit sorted out a little bit more for gigging. Okay, cheers.